Hi, Jack Bennett here. Welcome to The Big Drum. In today's lesson, I'm going to show you the exercise that I was just playing then. It's basically a coordination or independence exercise. It's made up of about 4 or 5 different units. And the idea is, aside from just, the physical coordination to be able to play those actual patterns sequentially and not speed up or slow down or lose your place, it's a really good exercise for training your ear and your brain to be able to hear unusual phrasings, particularly like your 3s and your 5s and even sometimes 7s against the quarter note pulse. Because obviously, if I'm playing in 16th notes as I were, which are 4 even notes per beat, well, if I'm playing a repetitive pattern of 3 or 5 or 6, it's obviously not going to land on the same part of every beat every time the pattern cycles and starts again. So you end up with these really interesting phrasings and kind of rhythmic shapes. And so it's a really good training exercise, not only for just the physical side, being able to play it, but it really teaches you how to hear phrases that fall around the beat and ultimately over the bar line, phrasing over the bar line. So let me break the exercise down for you. There's basically 5 different units that eventually you'll play sequentially. And look, it's up to you as to how many times you play through each pattern. You can just do it a couple of times like I did, or you could, if you really wanted to get it in your head, you could just play, each one for half a minute or a minute and then move on. It's entirely up to you. And by varying the amount of time you spend on each, you'll come up with some really interesting phrases as well. But with each pattern, you always play the hands together. The snare, the left hand is always playing the snare, and the right hand is moving around the kit. Now, I was just playing it on the toms. You can move it around the cymbals as well, and if you have, cowbell and woodblock and other things set up as well, definitely a good idea to do that. And you can come up with some really interesting combinations when you have these extra sounds at your disposal. So the first one is just the hands together once, and then a bass drum. Okay, so you can think of this just like singles. And if you're just starting out on the drums, just getting that even and not flamming left or right, just getting that double hit, that double stop with the bass in between, that might be a challenge. So start really slow and just always make sure it's dead even. Never sacrifice in any of your drumming, never sacrifice evenness and just the general groove for speed, okay? The speed will come, but you just start out slow. So just gradually work that up. And do different combinations. You can do, 2 on 1 or 3 on 1. You can do directions. You could go clockwise, like up the other way. Okay, so there's many different things that you can do, and that's up to your own creativity as to the patterns and sounds that you come up with. The next unit is just 2 with the hands, 1 with the foot. So you can think of it at the start, if you like, as triplets, 1 and 2 and but as I said at the start, and as you heard, everything is played within 16th notes. So really it's going to be like 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 and a 1 E, over and over and over. Or think of it like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1. Okay, so that'd be like this. The next unit is a combination of the first 2. So you've got the single where you're playing 1 and then a bass drum, and then you've got 1, 2 and then a bass drum. Okay, so 5 total. Now play all of the hand notes on one drum. So if I'm going for the first tom, play them all on the first tom just to start with, so that you can really hear what it sounds like when you phrase in 5s before moving on to the next lot of 5. So like. Okay, then of course you can split it up. And at this point I should note too, don't be worried that some of your patterns might not sound very good. You're going to come up with things as you're experimenting that just aren't going to sound very nice to your ear. Okay, but that's okay. You're just experimenting, and it's a coordination thing. You're trying to just get an even flow around the drums and cymbals and just see what you can come up with. The next unit is 3 with the hands, 1 with the foot. Now with this one, make sure that you get a bit of a wind up at the start. You want a bit of a natural accent on that first one, and that's kind of like the Moeller principle, where you sort of load up on the first one, and that means that the second and the third one won't be as hard to play. If I start really low, I've got to do all the work with my wrist and my fingers, but if I flick the first one down, there's a lot of energy and momentum already in the stroke, so to make it easier. And the last one is another pattern of 5. We do 4 with the hands and 1 bass drum. So again, load up on that first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then move on. Now, once you can play all of these patterns sequentially, you want to put in the quarter note pulse. It's a whole different ball game as soon as you put in that left foot. 1E and a 2E and a 3E, and you're playing all these things around that. All of a sudden, the independence factor, it's like it just jumps up a couple levels. Okay, so start out slow and be like this. So I hope that helps out with your coordination and also your phrasing.